Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important update tonight. I've got pages and pages here. I barely know where to start. But look, we need to start at the top with the latest restrictions. So in case you haven't heard, our friends across the ditch in New Zealand have just been thrown straight back into stage 3 restrictions in Auckland, stage 2 restrictions around the rest of the country that happened within a couple of days, all because of four cases. Okay, absolute insanity. But here's the kicker. Now in New Zealand, if you are test positive with this COVID-19, mind you, there's so many false positives in these tests, it's a joke, but nevertheless, if you test positive in New Zealand now, you'll be placed into state quarantine. Okay, no more of this quarantining at home. They are going to grab you, they're going to take you out of your home, and they're going to put you into state quarantine. Now, why is this important? Because, of course, what we saw last time, what we're seeing right now, what happened in New Zealand is also coming into effect right here in Australia, especially in Melbourne at the moment. Now, it's not only Melbourne though. All other states are getting, stronger forms of restrictions or higher levels of restrictions. Queensland's, closed their borders to Victoria. They've closed their borders to New South Wales. Northern Territory have come out now and said that they have closed their borders for the next 18 months indefinitely to Melbourne. There's an article that came out from, from South Australia. This is hot off the press, saying from 21st of August, licensed premises, cafes, restaurants, gyms will be required to have a COVID-safe marshal enforcing the 1 person by 2 square metre rule. Cross-border communities will no longer have free travel in SA. Private gatherings restricted. So new restrictions coming into South Australia as well. These restrictions are creeping in stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay, now let's not forget, Melbourne currently has some of the toughest restrictions in the entire world. Okay, this insanity of curfews between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m., exercising for 1 hour a day, almost all businesses, other than, supermarkets and chemists and essential services shut down. I mean, it's crazy. I urge you, okay, I don't have time to go through it tonight, but please, there's an article in the Daily Mail. It's got a long title, so I'll read it out. You can go back and re-listen to this. It says, Police and Army entering your home without a warrant, 8 p.m. curfew, and up to 400,000 jobs lost. Melbourne's lockdown is being labelled the worst ever breach of Aussie freedoms as calls grow for it to be scrapped. It's a really good article. I urge you all to read it. There are some things going on in the background where there are certain groups who are trying to put a stop to this. So have a look and see what's going on in the background. But one of the things that grabbed me, and you'll find this right in the middle of the article, and it's a section, it's in green on the page, and it says, what can the government do in a state of disaster? Now here's what it says. Appoint police as authorised officers so that they do not need to be accompanied by health officials to enter homes. So what does that tell you? If that's what they're authorised to do in a state of disaster, it means that they were not authorised to do that in a state of emergency. Okay? They were not able to appoint police as authorised officers. This is what we've been telling you through all these videos and radio shows. So all of the other states that are only under a state of emergency, not a state of disaster, the police are not authorised officers. And even here in Victoria, where they can be appointed as authorised officers, they can only be done so by instrument. Okay, this comes back to this instrument of delegation that we've spoken about many, many times before. Okay, people need to get their head around this stuff. People need to stop looking for this quick fix. Okay, this one-page step-by-step download from the internet. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you need to spend the time and do the research and get your head around this stuff. And you need to think. Okay, I've explained this before in other videos. This is just like a big chess game. Okay, but so many people are just blinded by the mainstream media that they can't think a few steps ahead. Now, I just explained to you, New Zealand's now saying that yes, if you test positive for COVID-19, you've got to go into state enforced quarantine. So what do you think is going to happen in Victoria, in Melbourne in particular? Okay, Dan Andrews has just gone and increased the payment from $300 to $450. Okay, for people to go, to urge people to go and get tested. You can now call up and they will send someone out to your home to test you within 48 hours. They are so desperate to test as many people as possible. Why? Because then once you test positive, they can go, right, we're going to quarantine you, we're going to take you out from your home, because remember, as we've explained on radio shows, you can't quarantine the healthy. You can only quarantine the sick. But you've gone and stupidly put your hand up going, oh yes, please test me. So they've done the test. Of course, a couple of them are going to come back positive. Now they can take you out of your home and put you into a state quarantine facility. Mind you, the very same facilities that caused all of this outbreak in the state in the first place. It's just madness. Okay, it's absolute madness. I mean, can anyone not see the connection between this and, the Nazi concentration camps? Am I the only one that's getting that? Okay, you need to think a few steps ahead with what they're doing here. I mean, it is just outrageous. And again, let's not forget that all of this is being based on these tests that have been proven to be scientifically meaningless. Forget about the inaccuracies and the false positives. They're scientifically meaningless. Now, if you haven't read those articles, if you don't understand why, please go to our vaccinations page on our website. It's about halfway down, and there's a little subheading called Inaccuracy of COVID-19 Testing. And you'll see links. These are scientific and medical papers and studies. They're not some obscure websites that we've linked you to. Okay, so go and read those and understand why this testing is an absolute joke. As I've explained on videos before, they tested a pawpaw, they tested a goat, they tested motor oil, and they all tested positive. Okay, there was a story doing the rounds on social media. I can't remember which state it was from, but a guy was tested. He tested positive. They did all the contact tracing, and they just could not trace him back to any known case. And they've gone back and retested him, and lo and behold, he's come out negative. Okay, but this is what they're doing. They're going to take you out of your homes and put you into a state quarantine facility if you test positive. So anyone who's racing out there to go and get tested is nuts. But of course, what are they doing? The government is targeting the low socioeconomic people, the people who are financially vulnerable, the ones who they've just taken the 400 jobs from because they just closed everybody's businesses down. And these people need this $450 just to survive. So it's all coercion. But people don't see that. They don't see the links. They don't see a few steps ahead. Okay, and of course, all of this fear and panic is all being predicated on the number of deaths that they keep reporting. Okay, but as we've again already explained, aged care facilities and nursing homes are paying families for the funeral costs of their loved ones who've just passed if they simply agree to let them put COVID-19 as a cause of death on the death certificate. I mean, this is the stuff that they're basing all this on, and this is the justification for continuing this insane lockdown. Now, again, I keep asking the question. No government agency's been able to come back to me. I'm simply asking, are these people dying of COVID, or are these people dying with COVID? Now, this is the best, most comprehensive answer that I've seen. Okay, so this is a government document. Okay, it's entitled COVID-19 Guide for Medical Practitioners. Okay, now it says the first question on top of the page: if someone dies from diagnosed COVID-19 or probable COVID-19, is that a reportable death under the Coroners Act? And the answer is no. The death due to or probably due to COVID-19 or its complication is a natural cause of death. You know, the thing that goes on all day, every day, has done for thousands of years. Natural cause of death. But here's what it goes on to say. When can a COVID-19 be assumed to have caused a death? Where a person is known to have suffered typical symptoms. Well, go and look up the typical symptoms of COVID-19. It's exactly the same as a common cold. Okay? Such as fevers, cough, breathing difficulties during a COVID-19 pandemic, but has not been formally tested or diagnosed, then it is reasonable to assume the death was related to COVID-19 and should be recorded on the death certificate. Okay, I'm not making this up, people. This is what the government is telling medical practitioners to do. The numbers that they are relying on are a complete joke. They have no basis in reality whatsoever. And the media keeps spouting them and keeps telling about all the deaths from COVID-19. Don't mention any of the numbers of deaths by suicide of anything, of course. No, just mention all the COVID-19 deaths. And they're all just being plucked out of thin air because someone died with a sniffle. I mean, I saw something from Channel 7 News, and they put up a picture of a young Asian gentleman, supposedly in his 30s or something, died of COVID-19. He had cancer, for crying out loud. He just happened to get COVID-19, in the last stages. He died of cancer, not of COVID-19, but they're trying to say, oh, see, COVID-19 can affect young people and everyone should be worried about them. I mean, it's such blatant brainwashing, but people still just don't get it. And this is what I struggle with. I'm sure you can see that right now. I really struggle because these videos, okay, they have to cater for such a wide range of people. They have to cater from the people that still genuinely, honestly, just blindly believe the mainstream media garbage, okay, through to those who've, woken up and realised a few things and understand a few things, right through to a lot of our advanced members, that understand, the much bigger picture, people who are following, QAnon, that movement, the Save the Children, people who understand the pedophilia that's, absolutely rampant. Okay, the child sex trafficking, the child sacrificing, adrenochrome, if you want to get, really full on and serious. There's people out there that understand that. Plus the fact that, we've all been subjected to private law since 1973 in this country under the Unlawful Unidroit Treaty. Okay, so here's the thing, no matter what level you're at, unless you are right up there and some of our super advanced members, okay, there's almost always another level that, that you're not aware of. And so I've got to try and cater to all these different levels, and it's really hard to juggle that. And the way I like it, it's like a black belt. Okay, so many people think, oh well, black belt, that's that's the be all and end all, that's the the epitome of achievement. And anyone who's done any actual martial arts training knows that's not the case at all. The black belt just signifies the end of the beginning. You've mastered the basics. That's it. The real training, the real journey begins after the black belt. Okay, that's when, and it's the same. So we've got people out there who've, they've read a book or seen something on the website and they've gone, oh yeah, I know all this stuff now, and they're super eager to go out and change the world, and they're actually getting themselves into trouble because they're not spending the time to do the real training. Okay, and this brings me to my next very important point. Okay, because there are people who've learned a little bit, they're going crazy, and they're going out there, they're taking on the world, they're all the absolute hearts of gold and for the right intentions, but they're out there with possibly not the best execution, and they're getting themselves arrested, and this has been rampant in the media lately. Okay, people who've been seriously choked and handcuffed and pushed up against walls and thrown on the ground, and absolutely crazy stuff. Okay, but a lot of it, with all due respect to those people who are out there doing this, is because of their own misguided understandings of things. So I'm going to go back and make this really clear, okay? Because people are now getting scared. They're saying, well, I don't want to go out without a mask because all these people are getting arrested for not wearing a mask. No, these people are not getting arrested because they're not wearing a mask. These people are getting arrested because they're not giving their details when they're asked to by a police officer. Okay, so I want to make that distinction clear so everybody understands it. So here's the scenario. Okay, you're walking down the street, you've got no mask on, the police come over and they have a chat to you and they go, hey mate, hey ma'am, why are you not wearing a mask? Okay, now, it's of course completely up to you. You might say, oh look, I've got a medical exemption. Okay, and they might go, oh, have you got proof of that medical exemption? Now, you may have it, you may not want to give it to them, you may want to stand your ground and say, well, yes, I do, but I'm not required to disclose my personal details to you. Okay, that's fine. You might have a mask in your pocket, and you might want to just say to them, listen, for the preservation of life and liberty, I've just taken my mask off. Okay, oh, what do you mean by that? Oh, for my own personal safety, health, and well-being, I've just taken it off because I was feeling dizzy and I couldn't breathe properly. Okay, it's a great, simple, non-confrontational thing to say, because how can they tell whether you are or aren't dizzy? How can they tell whether you can or can't breathe? Okay, so it's up to you. No, you don't have to give them this information, but they are absolutely entitled to ask for it. And this is where people get themselves confused. Okay, now, the police are able to ask you for your name and address if they believe that you have committed an offence. Now, if you're standing there in the middle of Melbourne with no mask on, they absolutely have reasonable cause to assume that you've committed an offence, because everyone has to wear a mask and you're not wearing one. Now, as I said, you might want to give a reason, you might want to give an explanation, you might want to hand over your medical certificate if you so desire. But if you don't, and that's completely fine, but if you don't, they're going to push you and say, right, you need to tell us your name and address because we believe you've committed an offence. Okay? Now, you might do a little bit more back and forth. You might ask them a few questions such as, sorry, officer, are you detaining me for the purposes of facilitating an investigation contrary to the ruling in the matter of Regina v. Banner? Oh, sorry, officer, am I actually required to stop and speak to police unless I'm under arrest? Because that's what was stated by the Supreme Court in the matter of DPP versus Hamilton. Okay, now if you don't remember all this stuff, okay, it's all in our book. All right, it's all covered in the Know Your Rights book. So grab that, we cover it all there. Okay, so you can say all these things. All right, that's perfectly fine. But at some point, the officers, remember, they're just following orders. Now, whether that's right or wrong or good or bad, that's just what they're doing. Also, remember, these officers have just been absolutely hammered by their superiors. Because what happened? All these people were bursting through all these checkpoint locations and filming it all and putting it all on social media, making the police, out to look like Muppets. So now their superiors have said, right, no discretion, no anything. If someone's not wearing a mask, fine them. If someone's 5.1 kilometres from their home, fine them. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. Okay, so that's what they're dealing with. And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to explain it to you. Okay, so at some point they're going to go, right, listen, mate, listen, ma'am. Okay, if you don't give me your name and address, I'm going to have to arrest you. Bingo. At that moment, okay, they've just threatened you. Okay, so now you're under duress. Why? Because you've seen all the same videos that I've seen online where these people are getting, handcuffed, thrown to the ground, head smashed into poles, choked out and all the rest of it. You don't want any of that to happen. So now you feel physically threatened. So now you're under duress. So now you simply say to the officer, that's fine, officer. I'm now under duress. So on a without prejudice basis, I'm happy to provide you with whatever details you'd like. What do you need to know? Now, once you've explained and justified why you're under duress because you feel physically threatened, because they just told you they're going to arrest you, okay, they can't do anything with that. It's under duress. It's not information that you've handed over willingly, so they can't do anything with it. So tell them your name, tell them your address, tell them your date of birth, tell them, what colour underwear you're wearing. Who cares? All they're going to do, at worst, hopefully someone who's there, a senior officer, is going to understand, oh shit, he's just said under duress, we can't do anything with this. But if they don't, all they're going to do is they're going to give you a piece of paper with a fancy logo on the top. That's it. It's called a fine, an infringement notice. Who cares? Stop being so worried about a piece of paper with a fancy logo from a corporation. Again, we've covered this to death before. The police are just corporations. They don't work for the government. Again, ask any police officer, show me your payslip. Unless it comes from the government, you don't work for the government. No, it comes from the Victoria Police Service or the New South Wales Police Force or whatever. It doesn't come from the government. It comes from a corporation. Okay, they're just corporate people, so understand that. Don't worry about it. Let them give you the fancy piece of paper with their corporate logo on the top. Okay, again, we have covered these fines to death. Okay, again, if you haven't seen the videos, go and look them up. Otherwise, just grab this book. Grab the Aussie Speeding Fines book. There's a simple step 1, step 2, step 3 process for how to deal with all fines. It's really very easy. Otherwise, go to the YouTube channel, go on this Facebook page and just look up all the videos. We've seriously covered fines to death. They're not that big a deal. Give them your name and address, take the piece of paper and get on with your lives. Okay? I don't want to see any more people getting arrested because they have failed or refused to give their name and address. It's easily avoided. It's no big deal. So please stop doing it. Okay, this is a really big issue because there's other people out there that watch this stuff who would otherwise have gone, yeah, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm not going to wear my mask. And they're watching these videos and of course there's all these comments and they're going, oh, wow, this person just got arrested and thrown to the ground because they didn't have a mask. Oh, I better wear my mask. Okay, it's very off-putting to other people that might otherwise stand up. Okay, so please do the right thing. Go back, watch these videos and understand what your rights really are and aren't. Understand what you do and do not have to do. Okay, again, you can sit there, you can ask them questions, you can do all these things, but when push comes to shove, they say, listen, I'm going to arrest you if you don't tell me this. Say, fine. Under duress, you can have whatever you want. Because then it doesn't matter. It's under duress. Has no, again, we cover this in all our live events. Anyone who's been to our live events understands the importance of the words under duress and without prejudice. Again, it's covered in our ebook. Go and have a look. All right, now, one of the other things that I have seen a lot of people doing, which is great, okay, for people who are a little bit scared, people who are a little bit hesitant, so, oh God, I've seen all these people getting arrested and not wearing masks. I want to stand up and I want to fight this, but I don't really know how. One of the best things that's been going on at the moment, okay, is especially obviously in Melbourne with Dan Andrews. Whenever he's been doing his press conferences, people have been jumping on those live press conferences and absolutely flaming him, okay, bombarding him with, for those who don't know the term, bombarding him, with questions, with comments, things like that. Okay, so, little comments, little hints, little questions that get all the other thousands of people who are watching that live thing, hopefully maybe get them thinking. Now, of course, the media are right onto this and they're blocking those profiles pretty quickly, but really, it's not that hard to create a new fake profile every day on, Google or Facebook or whatever and just sign in with that and keep getting onto these. This is a really good, really effective way, okay, of showing the media that we're not buying into this BS anymore. I think it was Channel 9 has now stopped doing those live feeds because there were so many people flaming these press conferences. So it's it's great. I actually see there's another little video doing the rounds at the moment on social media where one of the media reporters actually asked Daniel Andrews, hang on, Mr. Andrews, given the stage 4 restrictions and all the lockdown and all the rest of it, why are parking inspectors still able to walk around and issue fines? And I'll get back to you on that one. Of course, I haven't heard anybody getting back to anybody on anything. So, these are great questions to ask. Okay, so by all means, it's and of course, people in New Zealand watching Ardern's press conferences, anyone in any of the other states who are watching their premiers do their conferences. Again, a really great strategy for people to to get on and make an impact without necessarily worrying about getting arrested or anything like that. Okay, so and again, especially those people in other states, you are in a fantastic position. In Victoria, we're now so locked down, okay, that you've got the military here, you've got the police here. It's really hard to do anything. Whereas in the other states, you've still got a little bit of freedom and you can still voice your opinion a little bit more loudly than most. But again, I really want to make this clear and I want to reiterate, okay? People are starting to wake up. They're learning a few things and that is fantastic and I genuinely applaud you for that. But please, okay, don't start to run before you've learned how to walk. Okay, as I said before, you can't just download one page off the internet, okay, and expect to be able to handle everything. You can't just read a book, not even our book, okay, and know everything. It's a great start. It's better than nothing, but it's just that. It's just the starting point. Okay, it's like anyone who's seen The Karate Kid. Okay, and Daniel-san's learning karate from a book, and Mr. Miyagi comes and goes, well, is that where you learnt your karate from a book? He's like, well, yeah. He goes, well, no, you're not going to learn karate from a book. You've got to do the training. Okay, so you've got to do the training. This is why we have live events. This is why we have our live seminar video. We're working on a home study course, so stay tuned for that one. Okay, so people can do more research and do more study. But again, start small. Start with something. Start just by asking people questions. Ask them. Honestly, if you didn't watch the media, would you honestly know that there was a pandemic going on? Is the people, dropping dead in the streets like what would happen in a real pandemic? No, of course not. Okay, again, ask them that age-old question, that fantastic one that people have been doing for months now. When are you going to take your mask off? Oh, when I'm told to. Okay, well, you might want to think about that. Oh, why? Oh, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years old, you still doing what you're told? Like, come on. Okay, and again, just drop these little hints, get people thinking. Honestly, how is this little paper thing, okay, that you're putting over your face, that people then just go and throw in the nearest bin or on the ground, okay, how is that seriously going to stop the most contagious, deadly virus of our time? Really, honestly? Come on. Okay, if you want to, depending who you're talking to, you want to ramp things up a bit, you want to, take it to the next level, ask them how many people have to jump off bridges in the middle of the freeway like they did on the Eastlink freeway last week, stop the entire traffic for half a day. Okay, very, very sad situation. How many more people need to do that before you realise that the numbers simply don't add up? The number of suicides is significantly higher than the number of COVID deaths. How long are you going to let them keep pulling the wool over your eyes? How long are you going to let them keep bamboozling you with these made up fictitious figures based on scientifically meaningless tests that are inaccurate, that come up with countless numbers of false positives, and death certificates like we covered before, where anyone who basically has a sniffle before they passed away is marked down as a COVID death. Okay? I mean, seriously, ultimately what we need to do is we all need to get to the point where we just wake up and go, listen, enough's enough. Just rip these masks off, walk down the street completely maskless. It's really not that big a deal. I promise you. Okay, as honest as I'm standing here, I do this every single day. Okay, I walk into post offices, banks, shopping centres, supermarkets, chemists. Okay, every single day. I can count on one hand, how many times in the last 2 weeks I've even been questioned about it. Where someone's even said, oh, where's your mask, mate? Okay, I do it all day, every day. People don't even bat an eyelid. People don't even raise an eyebrow at me because of how I hold myself and how I walk in. Okay, with a nice big smile and not being offensive to or upsetting to anybody, not bombarding it, not holding my camera up and filming what I'm doing. I just walk in and get about my business. And no one says boo and no one cares. It's really not that big a deal. Okay, I promise you it's not. Okay, but whatever you do, wherever you're at, whatever level you're at, make sure that you're comfortable, make sure that you're knowledgeable, okay, and do what feels right for you, but please do something, okay? Because the last remaining thought I'm going to leave you with is this. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So where do you stand? Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. We are going to go into yet another weekend where there are stronger restrictions in almost every state, especially in Victoria, and now to our friends across the ditch in New Zealand as well. So as always, I urge you, please, get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. And the best way to do that is through these books that we have available on our website. There's links in the description of this video. If you haven't got them, if you know someone that hasn't got them, urge them to get them now so they get their head around this information before they get into trouble. Prevention is the best cure. Isn't that what they're trying to tell us about this whole COVID-19 rubbish? Okay, we'll take that philosophy on board. Get the prevention, get these books, get the information before you get yourselves into trouble. And other than that, I wish you all a great weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you all again on Sunday night.